Hey guys, welcome to my TzTok guide. This took me forever to get accomplished, but now I did it, so I'm going to tell you how I did it. A lot of the guides on YouTube did not help me very much, with the exception of a few items in the inventory. Now, what they had in their guides didn't always work for me, so I had to come up with my own stuff. It's just personal preference. What works for me may not work for you, so find out what works for you the best and run with that. Here's some items that you will need though. Vulnerability bombs are a must. They help you with TzTok and Arkin a lot. A power burst of vitality isn't 100% necessary. It's just in case you make a mistake, which I did in this run, so I needed it to save my life. You do need a shield to be able to tank some hits. I run a tier 90 shield, the Elder Rune shield. That helps a lot. We'll get into that later. I also run some super restores to keep my prayer up. I use Attuned Portent of Restoration, which if my health falls below half, it automatically heals me for 2,000. It helps a lot in case I'm not paying attention. I use Cerebrews, but not very many. I'm not a fan of them, how many clicks it takes and how fast you could die and having to hit a restore after, so I only run a few just in case. And as far as food goes, I have rocktails and sailfish soups. They help out a lot. The sailfish soups are for more of emergency type deals. They heal a little bit more than the rocktails. And I also run a supreme overload. I also run weapon poison to help with the DPS. Now, I'm not able to complete this entire run with just one inventory of food, so I have to have a Beast of Burden. In the Beast of Burden, I use Cerebrews, Super Restores, Attuned Portent of Restorations again, rocktails, and some sailfish soups. As far as armor goes, I'm running T95 armor. I'm wearing the Necromancy cape already, the Essence of Finality for Soul Split, the Nexus. The Lantern holds 2 additional souls, so it's nice to have. I'm also running the Scripture of Wind, which you'll see I forgot to activate until I was already halfway through. And in this run, I'm wearing the Luck of the Dwarves because I was trying to get better drops, but it's highly recommended that you run the Obsidian Ring so that you have that damage boost. And for damage reduction, I suggest the Obsidian Boots or the helmet or both. It's up to you. Alright, so for the ability bar, Revolution worked pretty good for me. With this setup, you just need to let the bar do the work. This setup works pretty good. It's a little slow for DPS to the monsters during the in-between waves, but using this bar won't ever use one of your heavy hitter or special abilities before you need them. And that's why I have my harder hitting abilities on keybinds, which I highly recommend if you don't already use them. In order from the front is Touch of Death, Conjure Undead Army, Necromancy, Command Skeleton Warrior, Soul Sap, Command Vengeful Ghost, and Threads of Fate. And as you see, I have Threads of Fate set up in the Revolution bar. Unfortunately, Revolution doesn't trigger Threads of Fate, but it's definitely OP here, and hit it as many times as you can. And the abilities I have set to keybinds are the Command Zombie, the Spectral Scythe, which honestly I didn't use much here at all, even though you absolutely could. Living Death, the Weapon Special, Volley of Souls, which both have a huge role in this fight. Soul Strike and Finger of Death. That's all I got for the ability bar. Let's get into the fight. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is safe spots, and this one right here is super important. This one protects you from anything on the other side, except for you have to watch this geyser right here. When it goes off, it does quite a bit of magic damage, so just move over to the right, and it still protects you from the other things on the other side. I also want to talk about this safe spot down here. It's pretty important too. Now, versus being safe from the ones on the left, this one now is safe from the right. All the monsters will bunch up on that north wall right there. Now, every once in a while, a meleeer will get down to the square right next to you, but the meleeers don't do much damage, so there's nothing really to worry about. You'll see me use that spot plenty of times throughout this entire cave. And if you get low on health, that spot down there at the bottom is a great opportunity for soul split if there's monsters on the other side. This wave right here is a good example of using the safe spot to DPS down the monsters on the left side and letting the monsters on the right stack up. This is an easy wave where you don't take much damage, but it's good to knock these monsters out of the way because those little bats drain prayer points, and when they have the lettering above their heads, it means they're dropping a rock on you, which also drop your prayer points. So it's nice to knock those out as soon as possible. This is the first Igneous wave. Now there's 3 of these level 140 Igneous meleeers. To damage, you have to stun them. And that's where Soul Strike comes in. You hit them with a Soul Strike, then you can do damage. And then once you kill the first one, you move on to the second, which is on the left side of the wall. And then the third one, which is in the front. After you kill them all, you get hit with this action button to do damage to TzTok. You have to hit this action button. Now, when you hit this action button, you have to do 50,000 damage to him to move on. If you don't hit 50,000 on the first try, you have to do the Igneous wave all over again. I popped a Living Death here, so I could go ahead and try to do more damage to him. You do it however you want. This works for me. And you don't want to burn your specials beforehand because you're going to need Threads of Fate, you're going to need Volley of Souls, and you're going to need your Weapon Spec on the next wave to be able to move on and not die. What you're going to do here there's 6 monsters that if any of them are alive at the end of the timer, they all do about 45 to 5,000 damage each. So what you do is you hit Threads of Fate as soon as possible. You hit Volley of Souls, do the first half, and then you turn around and do the weapon spec on the second half. Now I messed up on this one, but if you do it right, you can kill all 5 of them in 3 seconds. But I messed up here, so I had to use my Power Burst of Vitality. So not a big deal. I only had to use it once this wave. Run back down to the safe spot and continue on with the waves. Now this next wave gave me a lot of difficulty learning it. This was probably the toughest wave I had to learn. This is arguably the hardest wave in the cave if you don't know how to do it right. There's a Jad that appears down here in the south, and this safe spot is extremely handy right here. This safe spot allows you to focus Jad and the bats that drain your prayer without being bombarded by all the rangers in the north. If you try to handle the rangers in the north without using this safe spot, you see all 5 of those rangers standing up on the north wall. They will obliterate you all at the same time. At the same time, you're having to prayer switch between Jad. This safe spot right here allows you to deal with the bats that drain your prayer, take care of the meleeers that can't damage you, and the ranger to the left. The only other monster damaging you here is that one simple ranger up to the left, which by himself doesn't do a whole lot. You pop a Threads of Fate right here, take care of all these little bastards at once, and then this wave is over. But like I said, that wave gave me the most difficulties learning it. Now another monster to keep track of are these big rangers. They get a huge damage buff if you let them stand still. They're the biggest problem in this entire challenge, are those big rangers, especially those 2 standing in the north. It doesn't really matter which safe spots you go to here. They do a huge amount of damage, especially if they stand still. It doesn't matter who else is attacking you, the rangers, the meleeers, you're gonna wanna protect range here anytime you see more than one of these guys because they do damage and they do damage fast. Here's an example why you should pray range against these guys and not let them stand still, because I found out the hard way. You cannot underestimate these guys. So like I said, keep an eye out for those guys, and anytime you go up against them, even if they're not your main focus, it's in your best interest to pray range anytime those guys are in the cave. Just keep that in mind. Wave 9 is the next Igneous wave, and it's the rangers. And to do damage to the big rangers, there's 3 of them, just like the first wave. You have to hit them with a threshold ability. And in Necromancy, there is no quote-unquote threshold abilities, but Finger of Death works just fine. So save your Fingers of Death from the waves before, save them for this wave. The level 421s are the ones you need to look out for. Those are the ones you have to kill to get the action button damages up. Once you knock all 3 of those down, utilizing the safe spot right here, it is in your best interest to not just be out in the open. All of the rangers will attack you at once and it won't be fun. Once you kill all 3 of these, it's time to hit Zuk again. Now this time you're damaging Zuk, you also don't want to waste your specials because the next challenge wave is a monster that only takes damage if it's over 3,000. So I hit him with a vulnerability bomb, Finger of Death him a couple times, Volley of Souls, and a weapon spec, and it does the trick. And if you don't kill him all the way down, you're just going to have to tank a hit for about 5,000 or 6,000. That's how I did it, so save your specials for that. Once you finish this wave, you're going to want to zip it all the way down to the bottom because 2 Jads spawn in the north. So just jump down here right quick to your safe spot, take out all the monsters down here, and then proceed to the Jads. You are able to do one at a time. If you don't get down here fast enough, you'll be stuck up there in the top, and both of them will attack you at the same time, and it can be difficult to prayer switch between 2 different Jads hitting you at once. Once you take out the second Jad, you're going to want to come back down here again, handle these rangers down here, and the next monster to note is the Major up top. They hit you for a burn, so you want to have Freedom ready to go when you fight these monsters because they will burn you and they'll do quite a bit of damage. What I tend to do is attack one, use Freedom, and then I kind of wait for Freedom to be ready again, and then I use it on the next ones. So just keep in mind when you're attacking these monsters how often Freedom is ready to use, because that burn can do quite a bit of damage. If you can attack 2 of them at one time and use Freedom on both of them, so that way you're not having to save Freedom for 4 different monsters. The next Igneous wave is the Majors. It's very simple. They have shields that you have to be inside of them to damage them. It's pretty simple, and once you damage all 3 of them, you're going to want to go ahead and hit Zuk again. It's the same thing. You have to do the 50,000 damage. Now this challenge, you need a shield. Immediately after you get Zuk down to 50,000, you're going to want to put your shield on, and you're going to want to use Barricade if you have 100% adrenaline. If you don't have the adrenaline for Barricade, this is why the shield is so important. This is the only time you're going to need the shield. As soon as you do the 50,000 damage to Zuk, you're going to want to immediately equip that shield and try to build up your adrenaline some more on Zuk, even though you can't damage him anymore. It's good to have 100% because you need Barricade. So the trick to this is they hit you 4 times. As soon as they spawn, you want to hit Barricade, and I let them hit me 3 times. And then after 3 hits, I change to resonance. And then you tank all 4 shots and you don't take any damage. Depending on your shield, you could use barricade for all 4, but I found the hard way one time. I tried to use barricade for the whole thing and I ended up dying on the last hit. So my advice is to use barricade for 3 hits, and after the 3rd hit, use resonance and you're good to go. As soon as this wave is over, you're gonna wanna zip down to the bottom because this is the 3 Jad wave. And if you don't make it down far enough, all 3 of them will attack you at once. In this wave, you can just take 1 Jad out at a time. At the bottom one, go to the right, and then go up top. If you're feeling spicy, you can attack all 3 at once. It's up to you. I prefer to do 1 at a time. And after this wave is Hararkin. He's pretty simple. He's gonna spawn on either the right or the left side. This is also where vulnerability bombs come in handy. So hit him with 1, and then start hitting him with all your specials. You don't need them while he goes away. Do as much damage to him as you can. Explode your zombie, hit him with the weapon spec, volley of souls, finger of death, whatever you got, hit him with it, because as soon as Hararkin's done, you get to move on to Zuk. Keep an eye on the lava in the back. When it bubbles up and it looks like it shoots up, you're gonna wanna move because that'll hit you and it'll drain your adrenaline. Those hit you for some damage and take your adrenaline away. If you don't get his health all the way down to 0, it's not a big deal. You just keep building your adrenaline up on these tentacles. The more tentacles spawn, the more damage you're gonna take. I find it convenient to pray range the whole time. I tend to take more damage if I'm praying against magic. So just hit the tentacles. Hararkin will eventually appear on either side again, and then you can damage him down the rest of the way and then move on to Zuk. In between Hararkin's appearances, you will get these messages. Hararkin is bombarding you, look out. If you let that hit you, it's possible it could kill you, so anytime you see that message, bust a move, get out of the way, and then continue to kill the tentacles and wait for Hararkin. While you're fighting the tentacles, it's not a good idea to waste your specials because you're gonna wanna do as much damage to Hararkin as you possibly can, so as soon as he appears again, use everything against him, and then once he's dead, the tentacles will stay up for a bit, and then they'll go down, and then it's time for the boss. Zuk has a bunch of different mechanics that can be pretty difficult to learn. This is the first one where he'll say, "You will break beneath me," and it's just a melee attack. You can pray melee for the entire Zuk fight. The first one is "You will break beneath me," and he hits you for a burn that you need to freedom right away. After that, he'll hit you for 3 auto attacks where you can just pray melee the whole time. The next mechanic after that, he'll say burn, and he'll hit you and it'll lower your constitution level. So you need to have your super restores ready to go. And to counter this mechanic, you need to take 15 steps. So I suggest you surge once and then walk right back to where you were standing, and then watch your constitution level and keep on those super restores. And then after that, he'll do 3 more auto attacks, and then he'll do the next one. The next mechanic, he'll say tremble before me. And this one, you just need to surge in a straight line out of the way and make sure you're not standing near any cracks on the ground. If you're standing kind of close to one and you see you're taking typeless damage, you need to move away from it because those will wreck you. But hitting surge one time in a straight line should do the trick and keep you away from any cracks in the ground. After that, there's 3 more auto attacks. The next mechanic to watch out for is when he says be gone, and he's holding a lava rock in his hand and he drops it on you. The best counter for this is debilitate. Debilitate will half the damage done to you. So no matter what, it's going to do minimum of a 22 to 2400 damage. And if you don't hit debilitate, it's going to hit you for 4500. And after this mechanic, he does 4 auto attacks. Next, going into the pizza fire wave, you're going to want to hit anticipate after the 4th auto attack after be gone. If you don't, it'll stun you for a quick second and you'll be behind where you need to be so you can get started moving. After he says flames consume you, he'll throw you to the other side of the arena and you need to immediately look for the monster that pops up. It's an Igneous monster and the first one is a meleeer, and just like before, you need to stun this one to start doing any damage. It's important that you kill these monsters as fast as possible because if you don't, Zuk builds up for a special attack that will insta-kill you no matter what. The best way to handle this mechanic, to move your camera around so you can see the monster coming up out of the ground, and you need to click on it as if you're attacking it. That way your character will automatically point to the direction you needed to go, and then you hit surge one time and it'll put you right where you need to be to damage the attack. And on the first one, the meleeer, Soul Strike needs to be the first attack on this monster. So you can't waste any time. Once this one's dead, you need to adjust your camera to see the next one coming up. The next monster comes up in the east. As soon as the fire goes away, you need to be clicking over there to get you started so you don't get stuck in the flames. If you get stuck in those flames, the flames will hit you very hard, very fast, and it will kill you if you're in the flames for more than a second and a half. The same thing as the first one, you click to attack the monster and you surge right over there to him. The second one is the ranger, and the first attack you need to hit him with is a finger of death. Because again, time is very important. You don't want to get insta-kill here after these 3 monsters. So you need to get going over there and putting some damage down as fast as you can. The third one will spawn in the southwest, and it's the major, so you need to click on him the same as the first 2, surge over there, get in his bubble, and throw some heavy hitters down. After you've killed all 3, you will get another action button. Zuk takes about 8 seconds to build his special ability, and if you let him finish, it will insta-kill you and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing will protect you, you can't eat, it will kill you instantly. Put yourself into position, get yourself ready, hit the action button, and continue. It'll start all over again. He will do 3 auto attacks, and then he will start all of his mechanics over again. So have freedom ready for the first one, and then 3 more auto attacks, and then the next one, you need to move 15 spaces, and the one after that, you need to surge, stay out of the cracks. And then after that, debilitate for the fireball. And then after that, the fire pizza wave again. And once you get Zuk down to 100,000 life points, no matter where he's at in the mechanics, he will start over. As soon as he's under 100,000, he will do his burn again, even if it was the last attack he just did. He hit me for that burn twice in a row, so I wasn't ready for the freedom again because I still had to wait for the cooldown. And once you get him at 100,000, it's pretty simple from there. Make sure you keep on the vulnerability bombs and just do the damage and you'll have it. And after you've killed Zuk, you will get your Igneous Stone, and you can put it on any one of the kiln capes that you want. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, this run for me was pretty sloppy. I had a bunch of close calls, but I wasn't really paying attention that much. I made some mistakes and still got the job done. And that is how to do the Zuk cave. Let me know if it helped you. That's all for now, and have a good one.